Hey, Vegan Freaks, welcome to Vegan Freak Radio. It's the 17th of January, and this is our 24th podcast.
When we were kids, the bugs and the birds fascinated us. They were just like us. And we were taught to slam the door. It's not cool to feel too much. But some of us break free. Oh, you a vegan freak.
Hello and welcome. I'm Jenna.
Hey, I'm Bob. How's it going?
Hope all you vegan freakies are doing good out there, keeping warm.
Yeah, well, some people aren't in places that are cold.
This is true.
Only we live in the goddamn tundra in the middle of nowhere.
It's true. I've been watching the temperature drop all day today.
Yeah, it started out at like 50 today, and now it's probably like 20.
It's 20, yeah. Last I checked.
Anyway, we got an action-packed show for you today. We got all kinds of stuff going on.
As usual. So we start out with our shout-outs, and then we're going to earn our explicit rating today.
Oh, we are indeed.
Maybe we should save that as a surprise for when it comes out.
Okay.
But it's going to involve sex.
Yeah, so if you're easily offended or you don't like dirty words, now's the time to tune out.
Mm-hmm. And then we're going to play 2 songs today. We'll play a song, and then we're going to do our usual if you're not vegan yet segment.
Mm-hmm.
And then got some emails, some voicemails. And our interview today is with Dan and Liz from Liz Lovely Cookies.
That's right. And so that's about it.
Yeah.
Our typical action-packed show coming at you today.
So we got some thank yous at the top of our show here.
Absolutely.
We need to thank both Glitterous and insert name here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if we already thanked Triskaidekaphobia.
Triskaidekaphobia. I think we did, but
Triskaidekaphobia.
it doesn't hurt to do it.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure we did, but...
To anyone we haven't thanked, we really appreciate the kick-ass reviews at the iTunes Music Store. Thank you so much. And also, there were a lot of great comments over at Podcast Alley.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we're still in the top 50. We're at number 41.
Yeah, and those votes help. So we really appreciate it. We just want to say thanks. We're thrilled little vegans.
We are.
We're happy. We do our little happy dance. Do, 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 do. I'm doing a little dance now.
He is, too.
Yeah, you can't see it, though.
I should save that for the podcast.
Oh, God, no. I don't, because I'd have to edit that thing and I'd have to see myself dancing. I would be scary as hell. Yeah, so we got a lot of stuff. I don't know. Where you want to begin?
Well, actually, I wanted to begin. Chad left a comment on our last podcast.
Okay, yeah.
Just want to clarify some things about the Let Live, the benefit for the Shack 7.
In Portland.
Yeah,
apparently where I can say nothing correctly.
Yeah, apparently we cannot pronounce anything that belongs in Oregon.
Well, by way of correction, I'll just say that I mispronounced everything dealing with Oregon last week, so I apologize, and I'm not even going to try to repronounce it.
I've never even been there, so how would I know?
I have, and, that doesn't matter.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, his correction was that the big idea for the benefit came from John at Merrimack Furniture, not the Food Fight Turds. And he's one of the Food Fight Turds, so he just called himself a turd. Anyway, it's also being sponsored by Scapegoat Tattoo, Food Fights Neighbors, and you can get a list of the artists and the raffle sponsors at www.foodfightgrocery.com/letlive.html.
There you go.
We'll post that link.
Yeah, he posted it in the comments for our last show anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. How's everybody doing? Hanging in there? Doing all right? Being vegan? Trying to be vegan?
We're getting there.
Keeping up with those New Year's resolutions? I got to tell you though, I had a really weird dream last night.
Yeah?
I woke up today and I had this in my head, this really strange and kind of confusing, how like when you're waking up and you have a dream and you're trying to remember bits of it, you're trying to hang on to little segments of your dream.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's how I woke up today, and I was trying to remember these segments of my dream that I had last night. It was a really confusing dream. Check this out. You and I, we go into a diner,
mm-hmm.
and we sit down,
mm-hmm.
and I'm a little confused because we're in a diner, first off, because we don't go to diners anymore, because what the hell can you eat in a diner if you're a vegan?
Iceberg lettuce.
Iceberg fucking shitty-ass lettuce in a diner if you're vegan. So you can eat lettuce, or you can eat French fries, right?
Uh-huh.
So we don't go to diners very often, so we sit down at this diner. It's one of the diners around here, because we live in diner land. There are 8 million diners around here that you can eat for cheap. And we sit down, and the waitress comes up, and I order eggs, home fries, sausage, and toast with butter.
That's absolutely bizarre because it's so not vegan.
It's completely not vegan. And so, I don't know. I remember ordering it, and I don't remember waiting for it. I just remember it kind of being there,
Mm-hmm.
It's a dream.
Mm-hmm.
So the time is all whacked out. And there's this plate in front of me, and as usual with the, with the vegan, not with the vegan, but the diner food around here, it's like massive pile So on my plate is like this massive pile of home fries, these huge ass pieces of toast, this big sausage patty,
Gross.
and like this watery, runny, nasty egg. It was like really
Gross.
watery. And I remember poking at it with my fork and thinking, am I going to eat this? Am I really going to eat this? This is so disgusting. And then I felt really bad. Like in my dream, I felt like, God, you're going back on all the things you believe in. Like I had this like dire feeling about me, like I was doing something really horrible, evil, and wicked. And I'm poking at the egg and I'm thinking, God, if I'm going to eat an egg, I might as well at least eat one that's cooked correctly because it's real watery, And, how ironic would it be for me to get salmonella? I remember thinking all this stuff in my dream, and then I can't remember if I ate it or not. That was my dream.
That's bizarre.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I think on other forums I've been on, they call these Meatmares.
Meatmares, yeah, that's right. People have had meatmares before.
Yeah, people have had Meatmares. I have to tell you, eggs are not appetizing to me at all.
No, you're describing that was making me kind of, it was turning my stomach.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Eggs just don't appeal to me much anymore. And
no.
I would have to say sausage appeals to me even less.
Yeah.
It was just really weird. It was gross. And I don't know what was going on there. And I don't know where it came from or very weird.
I have no idea.
Mm-hmm. I haven't had too many of those kinds of dreams where I'm eating meat or anything like that. That's the first one I think I've had in a very long time.
That's weird. I
Yeah.
have no idea.
Do you ever dream like that?
No, I've never had a meatmare.
You've never had a meatmare?
No.
I don't know what the story is with that. Maybe I really do need to eat eggs. Maybe I'm just a weak vegan who needs eggs.
Maybe you're lacking in protein or something. I don't know.
No, I don't think I'm lacking in anything,
I
actually.
sincerely doubt it.
I don't know what it's about, though. Who can understand the subconscious mind?
I don't. If we understood that, we'd be we'd be famous.
We'd be all set, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, anyway, speaking of the subconscious mind, actually, behavioral psychologists often go out of their way to torture lots of animals to understand the subconscious mind.
They do indeed.
No, really, if you read Peter Singer's Animal Liberation,
Mm-hmm.
it's loaded with actually most of the stuff from behavioral psychologists is that he's objecting to.
This is true.
But whatever. So that was my dream. I thought I'd share it with you. If you have any weird dreams you'd like to share with us,
Yeah, let us know.
they can be dirty too. You can call and tell us if you have dirty dreams. We would play those.
We would.
Yeah. But that was my weird dream, and I don't know. I think part of me misses the diner culture itself.
Yeah, that's probably more it than anything.
I think it is, but I never really loved the diner food to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean, it was always, even when we could eat it, it was kind of gross.
Yeah. It left you feeling kind of weird all day.
Yeah, it left you feeling kind of fat and unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, whatever.
But anyway, we're actually going to talk about that next week. Just to give you a preview, next week we talk with Ryan from VegBlog in our interview next week. So
Yeah, we've got Ryan from VegBlog, and he talks about diners in his interview.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So cool. But you're right there.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to clear my throat.
Your meatmare scared you too much. You're feeling ill.
I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know. I'm just crazy.
Apparently.
So yeah, that was my weird, strange, whacked out little dream, and I don't know. I don't usually remember too many of my dreams.
I don't ever remember my dreams. It's very rare if I do. I'm usually sleeping too hard.
Yeah, me too. So anyway, that was my meatmare.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That was about what I got going on this week in terms of veganism. Just cooking and eating.
Cooking and eating.
Always cooking and eating.
Yeah.
We've got a new segment on the show coming up that we want to start pimping too. Dino, who is on our forums and is currently in the process of doing writing a book and doing some recipes and things, he is actually like really good at just taking off the cuff recommendations and using them to create recipes. So what we're going to do is we're going to start doing a segment with Dino where Dino will start taking your suggestions or whatever you can write to Dino and say, Dino, I have a stalk of celery and soy sauce in my fridge. What the hell do I do with it? Well, not quite that bad, but
Yeah.
maybe you have something like that, or if you have questions about recipe creation, things like that. Dino, we're going to get him on the show and get him to answer some of your, do some of these things on the air.
Yeah, so start thinking about those things, and we'll ask you for specific suggestions later.
Yeah, and we won't ask you for specific suggestions later. We want you to email them to us now.
Okay, fine, now then.
I wanted that shit now.
Fine.
Oh,
Well, you said in the future, so I didn't know.
well, the future is next week.
You gotta, keep me up to date on the podcast
I
shit
keep
here.
you up to date. I told you Dino was going to be on.
I know, but you didn't say next week.
Well, I actually told you this week, but I never got in touch with Dino.
Okay.
So anyway, you can send us your stuff for Dino at podcast@veganfreak.com. That's podcast@veganfreak.com, and we will pass it on to Dino and get him on the air to answer your questions. So if you have cooking questions, recipe creation questions, things like that, let us know. And we'll pass them on to Dino.
Okay.
I can't. I don't know. I'm all phlegmy. Sorry.
Great.
I'm a little phlegmy.
Are you getting sick?
No, I feel fine. I don't know.
All right. Whatever. But anyway, moving on. Our next segment is inspired by a TV show we were watching last week. And so just to start, for a warning, if you're bothered by sex, if you're bothered by foul language...
Oh, we have a warning. Screw 'em.
You might want to fast forward. And if you're our parents, stop listening now.
You see, that doesn't work, though,
I
because
know,
we did
this
that
is
with the
when they're gonna
book.
listen.
In our book, and right in the beginning of the book, it says, "Dear Mom and Dad, thanks for whatever. And if you're reading the book, please don't read the section on sex toys." So what do? Boom, turn to the section on sex toys. There's no way around it. I know my parents are listening. Hi, Mom and Dad. They've been listening a lot. They told me they listen to the show, and I got to tell you, it weirds me out to no end because I don't know, some of the stuff I say on here, I wouldn't want to say in front of my parents, but I am anyway, and I got to keep it real. So I'm going to keep it real. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad. I'm sorry if it offends you, but I got to keep it real. So in terms of keeping it real, here we go.
Here we go.
Thank you till the cows come home.
Yeah,
Okay?
go get yourself a little hot beef injection tonight and feel better.
Sure.
You can dip the chip, bang a box.
Sweep out your chimney.
Ah, you can stretch that leather.
Bump the uglies.
Dip and dive.
And shake the sheets. Oh, crack the neck. Get some skank on the hang low. Ride the baloney pony. Yeah.
All right, give that dog a bone.
There you go. Yeah.
Suck the oyster, baby.
Okay, put some beef in yo taco.
Buy that beef bust to Tuna Town.
That was so sexy. I'm so glad you said that.
I got one. The lips between the hips. Furry monkey
Smurf crease.
Bearded oyster. Bikini biscuit.
Cooter.
and cherry pop.
Cat flaps.
What about cha-cha?
Hairy goblet.
Clown's pocket. The Grand Canyon.
Oh, here's another one. Fish taco.
Ah, I gotta go in cream collector.
Goodie bag.
Wait, how about this one? Box of assorted creams.
Honey pot.
Dugout.
Love mitten.
Mermaid's purse.
Skeeky. Skeezy.
I got one. A pink velvet sausage wallet. That's attractive.
Nani.
Ham wallet. Coochie. Sweet spot.
Okay, I got another one.
The power slot.
Foo-foo valve. I know, foo-foo valve. We would say foo-foo valve.
Pork shutters.
Bermuda triangle.
Crab hole. Squeegee.
Vertical smile.
The vessel tube.
Monkey's chin.
Chewbacca.
What about panty hamster?
Roast beef sandwich.
Camel toe. Oh, that's so generic.
Okay, so we didn't tell you. That's from the L Word.
Yes, that was the way the show ended, the new season this past week.
Yep.
You can probably guess why we wanted to talk about it.
It doesn't require a whole lot of brain power to figure
No,
that
we're
out.
sitting there watching the end of the L Word, and I'm going, that's so not vegan.
It so isn't vegan, too. It's like all the different terms for,
Getting it on,
not just for getting on,
and
though.
for the various parts.
Well, that was only the women bits.
That was only the women bits.
That's right.
They didn't even include the men bits.
Yeah, the male bits. That was the female bits.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, there were some funny ones in there, though.
There were. Well, starting off with the hot beef injection. I mean, come on.
Hot beef injection, yeah. I mean, that's not vegan.
No, not at all.
But there's also, what do we have here? The fish taco. Give the dog a bone. That was for getting it on. Shucking the oyster. the putting some beef in the taco. Isn't that one of them? in there?
Definitely.
Okay.
Riding the beef bus to Tuna Town, that's definitely not vegan.
Man, that's double not vegan.
Oh, yeah.
And isn't that not kosher as well?
Probably not.
Anyway, what else do we have here? The cream collector, the honey pot, pink velvet sausage wallet. That definitely is not vegan.
No.
There was one vegan one, though.
What?
The cherry pot.
Oh, there you go.
So there you go. We here on Vegan Freak now approve the term cherry pot as a vegan alternative for
The bearded oyster.
for the bearded oyster. And for men, I mean, what you got dick, cock. I'm sure there are 8 million different terms, right? But cock.
Yeah,
is,
most of them have to do with sausage and
Sausage,
beef
yeah.
and
Yep, all that stuff.
wiener.
And it's kind of weird. Why do we use meat and dairy and fish and cream to describe these various things? I mean,
Well, cream's obvious.
dirty. Cream is kind of obvious, right? But But I mean, why?
I don't know why all the meat terms. I don't get it.
I'm eyeing the sexual politics of meat, which is up there on the up there on the shelf, which I'm sure has an answer in it.
Yeah.
But we use so many of these terms are just non-vegan. It's just like we use all of these terms of meat and dairy and other stuff to describe our sexual bits, and there's got to be some kind of weird connection there.
I'm sure.
So yeah, I don't know. We just thought a lot of those terms were incredibly non-vegan and worth talking about. But what other ones were good in there? Honey pot, honey. I don't even want to talk about honey.
Riding the baloney pony.
Riding the baloney pony. Definitely not vegan. Well, I mean, riding the baloney pony is vegan, but calling it that.
True.
Well, I guess it depends, doesn't it? And oh my God, I can't believe my parents are listening to this. No, it's weird. They tell me they listen now, and I feel like, oh my God, my mom is listening to this. It's weird. But whatever. Sorry, Mom. What can you do?
The L word that started it.
Yeah, I didn't do it. Someone made me do it. Like, totally, Mom. It wasn't my fault. Someone made me. Yeah, so that was on the L word at the end of the L word, and we thought that if we hadn't offended people by now, that would help offend them even more.
Pretty much.
That's way more than 7 dirty words that George Carlin talks about.
Oh, yeah.
Way more. But yeah, so all those dirty terms. I don't know.
All meat related. There's so many of them.
So
many of them.
meat and dairy.
And dairy and,
Yeah.
yeah.
And fish.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we won't go there.
No.
Probably better if we don't go there. Right. So, yeah. Are we done with that?
We're done with that.
Okay. And if you have any thoughts on this, you can always call us or, call our voicemail line at 267-295-1944 or send us an email at podcast@veganfreak.com.
Or put a comment on our website at podcast.veganfreak.com.
That's right. You can even upload audio there. So if you want to record your own audio on your own computer and upload it there, you can. Mm-hmm. It's very easy to do. Mm-hmm. Doesn't requires very little brain power.
Cool.
All right. So what else we got to do?
Song.
We're going to do a song. Man, we're this short into the show and we're doing a song.
We're doing 2 songs. That's why. We're breaking it into thirds here.
We're doing it thirds?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this song, do we decide which one we're going to do first?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
since people are already fast forwarding, maybe we should do the hardcore song first.
No.
Okay.
No. I was thinking since we're in a funny mood and we're joking around, we should do the rap song.
Okay, let's do the rap song then.
Okay, so Flame Still Burns on our forum sent us this rap song like eons ago, and I'm just getting around to playing it now. And this song, well, I mean, the lyrics are good.
Yeah, the lyrics are excellent.
The lyrics are good, but I gotta tell you, it's pretty cheesy, I think. Mm-hmm. Now, is it as we need a vegan term for cheesy.
I know. Cheesy's not vegan either.
How about it's yeasty?
Okay, it's yeasty.
But that kind of is gross
Yeah, I
too.
know.
I mean, it makes me think of things that. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's yeasty. Well, anyway, it's bad. How about that?
Okay.
It's so
Kitschy?
bad. It's kind of kitschy. It's so bad it's good, in a sense. Like it's so bad that you're like, oh my God, that's so bad, but I can't stop listening to it because it's so good, right?
Right.
Anyway, this is from Flame Still Burns, and this is Robber Rock. And the song is off of, actually, I think, a hardcore compilation, but this is a rap song on there. And the rap song is called Cruelty Free. And the lyrics are all right, but the beat is just sad. Like, this is like something that you would, turn on your Casio and just like, doom, chicka, doom, chicka, doom. Okay, it's not quite that bad, but it's close. So anyway, this is Robber Rock. I don't know, Vanilla Ice Ice Baby.
What's up to Conviction Records? What's up to the whole New Start posse? And we're gonna do it like this. I tell the story of a laboratory. You can't ignore the facts, and action is mandatory. Chemical, cosmetic, pathetic ways. Drays need to search for better ways. How much poison can be pumped into your brain? Homicide administered suicidally, insane, doing bodily harm to ourselves and the environment. But you still buying it. What will be left when the race is ended? Legacy of theft, evil, torture, and yes, we descended. So the species classify you as lower. But you're just as blind, your end may come slower. Children of God come in many shapes and sizes. Standard of life you will never realize. This is a message to the people who never see what it takes to live cruelty free. Survival of the cruelest. You say, how could they do this? Don't they even care a little bit? Nah, we're all just full of shit. Survival of the cruelest. Say, how could they do this? Nah, that ain't gonna be the way for me. I'm gonna find the way to live cruelty-free. Spiritual goals don't end the pain with the gift of a human brain. Love the animals, don't eat them. Genocide stands in the way of freedom and righteousness. Pork, murder with a knife and fork and chicken. Death ain't finger licking. Stop poisoning yourself with beef, chief. What you do is up to you, but for me I try to live poison free. If the body is a temple, it's sad to see people ignore the sanctity of life for their pleasure, and that ain't no treasure. Just the lies that man made up, but for me I got to see it straight up. Survival of the clueless. You say how could they do this? Don't they even care a little bit? Nah, they're all too full of shit. Survival of the cruelest. You say how could they do this? That ain't the way for you and me. I know I've got to live cruelty free.
Okay, so that little bit of cheesy rap was Robber Rock.
The lyrics were good though.
The lyrics are alright, yeah. But the song itself is just straight up bad,
Yeah, definitely.
I think. But
yeah,
it's funny.
It's pretty cheesy. Or yeasty, whatever. It's hard not to say these kind of things like cheesy and I don't know.
Well, are we like PC weirdo vegans? We're gonna try to clean the whole language like that?
No, that's impossible.
Yeah, right.
I mean, there's
so-
some things that are nasty that you shouldn't say, but I can't think of any off the top of my head right now.
What do you mean?
Like beat a dead horse.
Oh,
Like
oh,
those kind
yeah.
of things. Those are ones you might want to avoid. But anyway.
But it may be vegan to beat a dead horse. I mean, the horse is already dead. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Relax. Right. So, yeah.
So, if you're not vegan yet.
Yeah, we haven't, we want to do another one of these If You're Not Vegan Yet segments because some of you out there aren't vegan yet.
Yeah.
Actually, we hear a lot from people who aren't vegan. So, even if you are vegan, these things are useful too
It's
because
true.
I think a lot of us tend to get into these moments where we forget why we are vegan.
Yeah.
Not forget, but I mean, we get
Yeah.
into this like, it's a habit.
It's a habit.
You know?
And then once it's a habit, you sort of realize, well, why am I doing this? And then so it's really good to remind yourself, oh yeah, this is why I'm doing this.
It's always important to live meaningfully.
Yes.
And to live every moment knowing why you're living that moment as you are.
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
Yeah.
Does that sound new agey enough for me?
Sure.
Okay, good. So, if you're not vegan yet,
Right. These are some things to think about. And last week we talked about intensive dairy production and sort of the human side of it, but I wanted to also reinforce some of the things that intensive dairy does to the cows.
good.
So this one comes from the Farm Sanctuary, actually. They release a report on the welfare of cattle in dairy production. So this says that it's basically a summary about intensive milk production has their basic conclusion is that intensive milk production per cow has led to a mass decline in the welfare of cattle used in dairy operations. Today, 3 out of 4 dairy cows in the United States never graze in pasture, and a significant proportion are not provided routine access of any kind to the outdoors. Those who are housed outside are usually confined in crowded, barren dirt lots. Since 1991, the number of total U.S. dairies has dropped 55%, while the number of dairies with a herd of 100 or more cows has increased 94%. Every year, more dairy cattle in the U.S. are raised on large corporate operations or mega dairies that employ factory farming techniques. In fact, plans have been announced to build the West's largest dairy, housing 90,000 cows on 2,000 acres in the Southern California's Mojave Desert.
Wait. So we're going to put 90,000 cows in the desert. And a desert is like a place without water, right? Am I...
And this is a place where humans are already using up a large part of the water supply.
Right. So how are we going to provide water for all of those cows?
Very good question.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
No, that's fine. No, it's important. And I remember when we first became vegan, I read Vegan: The New Ethics of Eating, and I had sort of knew a little bit of the environmental arguments, but the whole chapter and description in that book, and I think it touches in on Mad Cowboy too, about the environmental degradation
right.
caused by just the hooves of that many cow on land where they shouldn't be.
That
It's
many
just
cow, yeah.
amazing. I mean, they just completely destroy the land, and if it's not already desert, they turn it into desert. And it's unbelievable.
But there's also another thing here that you touched on there, and that is that in the United States and actually most of the developing world, or developed world that is, or which is to say industrialized or whatever you want to call it, there's this trend where you have a large number of small farms that account for very little in terms of the total productivity, agriculturally speaking, and a very small number of large farms that account for a very high percentage of the total agricultural output.
Exactly.
So we're seeing, what that means essentially is that we're seeing more intensive production coming along day to day, week to week, year to year.
Yep.
And that's been going apace since the 1950s.
Yep. Exactly.
And of course, what happens then is that the animals become inputs in that whole in that whole system.
They're just a machine.
Yep.
So
what else do you have from that report?
A couple more things I wanted to read. It says, today's dairy cows in the U.S. produce milk volumes that are 2/3 greater than those demanded of animals 30 years ago and 10 times more than they would produce in nature. The dairy industry has managed to continually increase milk yield per cow by a variety of methods, including the manipulation of dairy cow nutrition, milking procedures, growth hormones, antibiotics, lading periods, reproductive and genetic selection. Today, dairy cows are sent to slaughter after only 3 or 4 lactation cycles, when disease develops or milk production decreases. A dairy cow's average life expectancy, should she be allowed to thrive in a healthy environment, would be in excess of 20 years.
So they're going through 3 or 4 milk cycles, which is what,
3 or 4 years.
3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Right? Which is crazy.
Yep.
So we have, and we can afford to kill those animals in 3 to 4 years because, they're sent for meat production. And if we kill those animals in 3 or 4 years, it helps keep milk profitable, right? It helps keep production milk profitable. If you hold on to an animal for too long that isn't producing enough, you're spending too much money on feed, spending too much money on the upkeep of that animal. You're not getting enough in return.
Yep.
So again, we talked about this before, but this is, again, this whole thing about animals essentially being viewed as production, as inputs for production. And that's all they're viewed as.
And then it goes on to talk about other things that are really bad things about the way cattle are treated in the dairy industry. And it talks about tail docking. Nearly 1 in 4 dairy cows suffers from mastitis, which we talked about last week, which leads to more pus.
And that actually is the risk for mastitis, I believe, is increased by the addition of recombinant bovine growth hormone.
Yep, that's exactly what it says next. Yep. Improper bedding and housing for dairy cows contributes to a startlingly high rate of lameness in dairy cattle. Most cattle confined indoors in the U.S. are kept on concrete, which is really bad for their hooves. Dairy cattle account for the largest percentage of downed animals, farmed animals too sick or injured to walk on their own. USDA and industry estimates put the number of downed cattle in the U.S. at 195,000 annually, with 75% of those being dairy cattle. Similarly, in a study of downed animals by the California Department of Food and Agriculture, 91% of downers at California non-fed slaughterhouses were dairy cows. So, and then it goes on to say things we've mentioned before. Most calves of dairy cows in the U.S. are separated immediately at birth without nursing. Most female calves are used as replacement for spent dairy cows sent to slaughter, while male calves are slaughtered for bob veal shortly after birth, tethered and confined at special feeding operations and slaughtered at 4 to 5 months for veal.
And that bob veal, that's stuff that comes, that's like right away pretty much, within the first day or 2 of life.
Yep.
And that's the kind of veal that ends up in those Hungry Man dinners and dog food and stuff like that. It's pretty sick.
It is.
And every time you take a drink of milk, you should think about that. Or you eat cheese, you should think about that.
Yep.
For me, actually, this is why for me going vegan was pretty easy. And I don't know, maybe I'm an exception to the rule, but when I decided I was going to go vegan, I had this epiphany. I was sitting out reading, and I decided, man, I'm going to go vegan. Bang, that was it. And every time I thought about eating something that had milk in it, or eating an egg, or any of that stuff, it occurred to me at that moment that I was participating in this process of that is so objectionable, that is so torturous, that is so horrible for the animals and for everybody. And I felt like I couldn't do it. Like I felt completely repulsed by it. And that's where I was at. And I guess one of the ways it's good to become or to get yourself into veganism is to think about that, is to try to remember that. If you want to be a vegan and you care about animals, you need to think about that when you pick up that glass of milk or that piece of cheese. You need to think about the suffering involved in that. You need to think that an animal somewhere in the world spent X number of minutes or X number of hours or X number of days basically in conditions of really horrible confinement in just a really bad spot, suffering like that so you could have what you're consuming.
Yep.
And if that doesn't help you go vegan, man, I don't know what will.
I don't know either.
I don't know. We don't mean to get all heavy.
Yeah, but so those are some things to think about. So if you're not vegan yet,
there you go.
contemplate that.
So you should think about becoming vegan if you're not. If you do go vegan, what can we promise you? We can't promise you anything. We can't give you anything. We can't. We can't promise you much. But going vegan is good for you.
It is
good for your health.
good for your health, and it's good for your peace of mind.
And it's good for your peace of mind.
It sort of gives people a lot of peace when they eat their meals.
But yeah, the other thing is, I don't think. I mean, there's this whole question of health food vegans. People who do veganism only for health reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's great, but I think actually that's probably not the best way to stick with it.
No, but a lot of people who go vegan for health reasons, some of them don't, but a lot of people that I heard about, once they learn the ethics reasons, then can include that in the reasons for being vegan. So
that's a good point. That's a good point. I just think, I don't know. I don't know many health food vegans. I don't know many vegans who've done it solely for their health. But I don't know. I would just think it would be so much easier not to be vegan if you're only doing it for your health.
Right. It's easier to cheat or whatever.
Yeah, it's easier to cheat. It's easier to make the exceptions. It's easier to eat, the occasional bit of dairy, eggs, and meat. So whatever. I don't know. I'm kind of bleh.
All right. So why don't we move on to our emails?
Let's move that. Let's do that. Move on to the emails.
You've got mail.
Okay, let's see here. Cialis? No, don't need that. Bigger bus size? No. Free iPod? Oh, it might do that. Oh, are you pleasing your woman? Well, you better ask her. Oh, well, what's this? Vegan Freak email? Vegan Freak email. Yes.
Okay, so now we've got some emails for you. The first email we have is from Joe Faulkner. And Joe says, I just wanted to write to let you know that I love the swearing on your podcast. Keep it up and don't let the wowzers get you down. Wowzers. I don't know what it is with these people. Do you think the ground will open up to the underworld if they hear a swear word? Anyway, I think the explicit language rating is adequate warning, and anyone who listens thus waives their right to complain about it.
Hey, that's good. I like that.
Isn't it true? I mean, we do have an explicit warning and whatever. I received your book for Christmas and hadn't heard about you guys before that. Since then, I've been listening to your podcast using the Australian iTunes, so you can't read the review I wrote for you on iTunes because of the zoning system they have.
I had no idea.
Yeah, well, it's because of the, I don't know, crazy intellectual property rights bullshit. There's different licensing agreements for the songs in Australia versus North America versus, South America versus Europe. Really. So, and it checks where you're coming from and it won't let you go to certain ones. Anyway, where are we? So you can't read for your iTunes because the zoning system they have. Anyway, thanks for the podcast. It makes me feel a bit connected to other vegans in a global sense, which is nice. Go vegan freaks.
Yay, thank you.
Thanks, Joe. That's
That
really
was
awesome. That's great. And we always like to hear that people like the cursing because it just keeps us cursing along. So thanks for that, Joe. That's a great email, and we'd like to hear from everybody who listens.
We got a cool, quick email from Michelle. She said, Bob and Jenna, A, you guys rock. B, I would like to help index podcast topics. And C, Neil Diamond is cool. Also love the voicemail ditty.
Cool. Well, you can thank Veghead for, I was going to say Vegblog, my God. You can thank Veghead for the voicemail too. And I got to tell you, I think he has a future in jingles.
I think so.
He could really write jingles. Because every time I edit the podcast, I play the tunes and I get them in my head for days on end. And in fact, that's the only way I ever got to know our voicemail number, which is 267-295-1944.
This is true.
So write it down your refrigerator door.
And we got in touch with vegans from Vienna too because of it.
We did indeed. We heard from Felix in Vienna. Mm-hmm. So, and as for Neil Diamond, I don't know. I can't get into Neil Diamond.
People, there are all kinds of people out there like Neil Diamond, so there you go. And thanks for everyone who has volunteered to help us index our podcast topics.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to get that set up. I'm I was going to do that today, but we ran out of time today. Today's been an insane day. I will get that set up shortly, and I'm kind of coordinating something with people on the forums and people who email me, so I will get in touch with you and break up kind of a meaningful division of labor so everybody can do a couple and we can get it done real quick.
Yeah, so that will help us greatly and help our listeners greatly. We thank you for everyone who volunteered.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. Okay, let's see. Next email is just a short one as well. It says, hey, stumbled across your site and I love it. It's got edge. Oh, we do have edge. Oh, we're edgy. Oh, yeah. It's got edge and deals with honest issues that arise in vegan living. Anyway, I just added you to my favorites and look forward to future podcasts and updates. Peace, Matt in Milwaukee.
Hey, thanks, Matt.
Hey, thanks, Matt. We really we're glad that you find us to have some edge. We try. We don't try, actually. I mean, we don't try to have edge. We just try to put out a good podcast and be ourselves.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we do.
That's pretty much all we do. Mm-hmm. So thanks for that, Matt. Very nice to hear that.
Okay. This next one is from, I guess it's Ilana. Looks like Yana.
Oh, because it's Spanish.
Right. And it looks like, I think it's Ilana, though.
Okay.
I work in the wine industry, and I've recently become very interested in organic biodynamic viticulture. Biodynamic viticulture involves preparing hummus mixture prepared by stuffing cow manure into the horn of a cow. I've also read that ram's horns may be used. Some wine producers claim to be both biodynamic and vegan. Do you have any information on how they might attain their horns, and any thoughts on whether they should still be calling themselves vegan? Thank you.
Well, this is so weird to me. All right, you take cow manure and stuff it into a cow horn, and this is supposed to do something special for the world, like for the wine?
I don't know. Why can't you just put cow manure into the soil like people usually do?
Because then it wouldn't be in a horn and wouldn't have any kind of like special spiritual potentiation in it that makes... I don't fucking know.
Well, in case for you haven't listened to a couple episodes back, we talked about how very strange biodynamic farming was and how it uses some kind of odd practices.
Odd practices is putting it nicely. I think a lot of the biodynamic stuff is really far out there.
Yeah, they put intestines into the ground and everything.
I remember someone got angry at me for talking about biodynamic.
We got an angry email about that.
About biodynamic stuff because I said I thought it was weird.
Yeah, well, it is.
Well, it is weird.
And, whatever. But they probably shouldn't be claiming they're vegan because even regular organic gardening and agriculture, etc., is not necessarily vegan because they use manure. But there are veganic gardeners and veganic.
But are there organic wines?
Probably not.
No, I think when you label a wine vegan, it probably means it has no animal products involved in the production of the wine, which is to say no egg white clarifiers or shit like that.
Right. So they're probably referring to the wine, not the process of growing it.
But biodynamic wine, like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get biodynamic anything. I don't understand why you would pack manure into a horn and put it in the ground and hope it would do anything. I mean, what could it possibly do for an entire field? One horn of manure, an entire field. Scientifically speaking, there is nothing here. There is like no way that it can do anything. Am I just being daft? Am I not?
And if it's doing anything, it's from the minerals in the horn, which you could probably get some other way.
This crazy like way out there wacko shit, man. I don't get it. Okay, I don't understand it, and I don't know. I'm just gonna stop before I get more nasty email.
But anyway, if you have a logical explanation as to why that happens, please send it to us.
Yeah, I would love to hear it.
So there you go.
So anyway, but the question was, do we know of any wine? What was the question? Did we answer the question? Or
we did answer the question.
Okay, I just ranted and raved about biodynamic stuff, which is no surprise,
right.
I suppose.
But if they are probably allowing, yeah. The question is whether they should still be calling themselves vegan. And if they are, the wine itself is vegan, then yeah, that makes sense. Because they're not using the eggs and all that other nasty stuff that wineries tend to use.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I guess that would mean that there's nothing in the wine that is not vegan.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. So I just get very frustrated about this biodynamic shit.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to stop complaining about biodynamic, new agey weirdo. I don't know. They do an incantation too. Anyway. You're shaking your head at me. They can't see you doing that.
No, I think they do.
They do an incantation?
There's weird spiritual shit.
I
don't know. There's a whole spiritual dimension to it that I don't understand either. But
Okay. Okay, next email. This one is from Matsumoto. I assume I don't know. I'm probably saying that wrong too. Who the hell knows? As a fairly new convert to the vegan lifestyle, 1 year, and a long-term culinary obsessive, I was ecstatic when I first discovered your podcast. Impressed by both your straightforward advice and shout-outs to other websites and such, where good recipes can be found. I find more and more reasons to like your show with every broadcast, not the least of which is discovering that Bob is a punk rock loving Hispanic Marxist. Hell yeah, I am. Like myself. In one of your recent podcasts, I remember hearing you asking for input on a decent vegan symbol or something like that. I have something that I would love to send in, but unfortunately I am a horrible artist. My idea was a sickle and hammer sort of theme drawn with a banana and a leafy celery stalk or carrot. Get my drift? Anyway, as a small town newspaper editor, my drawings are less than impressive. They are less than depressive. They are not even impressive. Maybe you could use the idea though. Matt, I'm with you, man. I can't draw to save my life. But if someone wants to draw, that would be pretty fucking cool.
That would be cool.
A hammer and sickle.
We do have artists on our forums, and I'm sure we have plenty of listeners. So.
All right, so let me just put that out there again, in case anyone's interested. So a sickle and hammer sort of theme drawn with a banana and a leafy celery stalk or a carrot. I think that's great.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be really cool to have a little symbol like that, like a little icon or something.
That would be.
You know, that'd be really cool.
Yeah,
So,
but we did get some suggestions. I don't know if we ever mentioned them. We did get some suggestions for signs that you can flash other people that you were vegan. One of them was making a V, but with your pinky and your ring finger, which is kind of hard to do. But so then you're not flashing the peace sign, or you're not telling someone to fuck
that's
off.
pretty
So
good. Yeah.
that works.
That
That's
works.
one of them.
Not
Or the
up-
other, yeah. And the other one was making a V with your elbows.
like putting your two elbows
Put
together
your
and
two
sticking your
elbows
head in the middle. See, I'm doing it, so I'm getting further away from the mic so you can't hear me that way. But yeah, and there's a picture of that on our forums
Yeah,
as
there
well.
is. It's a funny picture. So
That recommendation came from Issa and Epi and all them
Yeah.
over at the Post Punk Kitchen
Yeah.
forums, who are also on our forums.
yeah, all the Brooklyn vegans. Yay.
The Brooklyn Vegans. Yeah, so
cool.
absolutely.
All right, and our last email is from Claire. Claire says, first I want to say that you guys have an absolutely kick-ass podcast. Well, thank you, Claire.
Yeah,
That's
thanks,
very nice. Keep up the amazing work. You guys are so informative, funny, and I don't know how sane I would be without your podcast. I'm emailing you regarding the January 11th podcast, insert name here called, and you are wondering about the life of a teenage vegan. I'm in high school, and I've been vegan for a couple of months, so I thought I'd tell you how things work for me. My Omni parents have no intention of going vegan themselves and don't like it when I mention things like factory farm cruelty, animal intelligence, how there's proteins in things other than meat, etc. But they're pretty good about buying me vegan groceries, though I usually go with them to make sure they don't grab soy cheese with casein or other not quite vegan foods. I cook for myself 99% of the time. My mom has one accidentally vegan recipe that she makes every so often, but on the whole, we buy it, I cook it, and I eat it. The part I like least about living at home is having to see dairy milk next to my soy and meat next to my tofu. Nasty. It's great, though, that we usually eat at the same table at the same time because they get to see the kinds of things I can eat. When I first went vegan, or rather when they first let me, it took a couple of weeks to convince them I would be healthy and happy as I was when I was a vegetarian. They didn't think my food was going to be that interesting. However, eating dinner with me every night, the contrast is kind of funny. The ones who can eat anything eat the same things over and over, whereas the one whose diet is so quote-unquote limited is constantly trying tons of new and delicious stuff. They are amazed at some of the things I am able to make vegan. Maybe eventually they'll see that we eat things other than twigs and tofu. Anyway, keep making the incredible podcast. It's definitely the highlight of my week.
Wow.
That's an awesome email, Claire.
Well, thanks, Claire. Yeah. I have this theory, and my theory is that a lot of teenage vegans have their shit together in ways that I never did when I was a teenager.
Definitely.
I was not a complete fuck up, but I was kind of a fuck up when I was a teenager. Kind of.
You weren't a fuck up.
I was kind of a fuck up. Kind of.
No. Well, I don't know. I didn't know you.
Well, anyway, regardless, I wasn't a fuck up, but I wasn't exactly the most together person in the world. But I've met so many teenager type, under 20 vegans, let's say under 18 vegans, and I've always been impressed with the fact that these are folks who live with their parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yet they make their wishes known. They have their shit together. They know what they want to do, and they make it happen. Like so many of them make it happen, even in situations that are sometimes difficult. So I'm always impressed with teenage vegans because, man, they really know what they want to do, and they go and they do it.
Yeah, and they find ways to do it. Like Claire did. She found a way to manage to talk her parents into buying the food, and then she cooks it and she eats it.
Well, also her parents are at least marginally open to it,
that's
right?
true.
I mean, some parents probably aren't.
Yeah.
But Claire, I mean, for example, Lindsay,
Mm-hmm.
there are plenty of teenage vegans that we've got to know through our forums and through other places, and I'm just always impressed by how much they have their shit together.
Yeah, and
I really
they're
am.
really able to talk about the issues in a way that I never probably could have at that age. So
Yeah, so
very impressive.
yeah, I'm very impressed with that. I think it's great. But
That's all
So that's it. We didn't have anything else we wanted to add about Claire's email there?
Oh, no. Just other than thank you. That was an awesome email.
Yeah, it was. It's always nice to hear from people on how they're living vegan in their particular context.
Definitely.
Because everybody's veganism is a little different, right? I mean, depending on how you... What I mean to say is that your experience of veganism is different depending on if you live on your own, if you have roommates, if you have a significant other that is not vegan, or if you have one that is vegan. I mean, it's always a little different depending on where you're at. So it's always interesting to hear how people negotiate their particular context and situation.
It is very interesting.
So thanks for that, Claire.
Yeah.
And here's a big shout out to all you teenage vegans. I think it's awesome,
Definitely.
And I think you all should be proud of yourselves for knowing what the hell you're doing with your lives at such a tender and young age. And probably we should tell you to cover your ears when we curse.
Yeah.
Although I never really believed in shielding people from stuff.
No, they've probably heard worse.
Come on.
From their fellow teenagers.
I gotta tell you, the two most wholesome things I've ever done in my life are the two places I learned the worst stuff. Catholic grade school and the Boy Scouts. Those are the two things that are supposedly very wholesome, very good for a young child. Yet Catholic grade school and Boy Scouts where I learned the worst things in my entire, it's where I learned all of the bad stuff. So take that into consideration.
Drop the phone, it'll save you a tenner. Send an email to Bob and Jenna.
Okay, so now what? We're going to move on to... I can't see my little list of stuff. Where is it?
We have voicemails now.
All right, voicemails.
Time once again for some vegan freak voicemail. Maybe we'll hear from a hot chick
or a choice male.
Callers make us happy and help us keep our sanity, even if all they wanna do is fucking complain about the shit load of profanity.
Hey, vegan freaks. This is Megan from Connecticut. I'm currently a student at the University of Rhode Island. And I just wanted to leave you guys a voicemail because I'm kind of in love with your podcast. I listen to it all the time at work, and it keeps me sane. So I just want to let you guys know that you're kind of a big deal. But I was listening to your podcast, and you guys wanted some input on New Year's resolutions, so I just decided to share mine. My first New Year's resolution is being a college student. I have a tendency to party kind of hard on the weekends and sometimes the weekdays, and that's kind of a bad idea. So my New Year's resolution is to kind of ease up on that because then I run myself down and I don't study for exams and I get sick, and that's just bad news. So that's one. And two, I really would like to become more gutsy about my vegan opinion to my friends. I mean, I kind of just am really laid back about it, and I don't really talk about it a lot, and I should because they don't really know a lot about it, and I kind of just want to know a lot so that when they talk to me, I can respond and, know how to respond and have the right information without pissing them off, Anyways, I have a question for you guys. I'm actually a pre-vet student at URI, and I'm an ethical vegan, and I love animals. And my question is that my curriculum in the upcoming years is going to include a lot of labs and dissections and stuff like that. So I was wondering what your position on animals' use for education was, because instead of using and killing animals for human research, it's using animals and to in return years down the line to save future animals. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. It's kind of I'm not really sure how I feel about it, because there's a big difference between seeing a diagram in a textbook and then actually going in and seeing the actual system. And I'm torn because I think it's so fascinating, actually going in and seeing all the different parts of a body. But then it bothers me because I know that this animal was probably killed for my use, and it's not such a big deal now in my undergrad, but once I get into vet school, I'm not really sure how comfortable I'm going to be. I just wanted to know what you guys thought about it, and if you think it's justified to kill some animals in order to save more in the future. And I don't know, just wanted your opinion on that. anyways, I love your book. I'm about halfway through it. I got it for Christmas, and I love it. And I love the podcast. You guys rock my socks. And that's about it. Your dog cracks me up. Yes, I saw the video cast, and it was hysterical. I was laughing at your dog. Anyways, take care. Bye.
All right, so thanks, Megan, for that email.
Absolutely.
Or voicemail, sorry.
Voicemail.
Voicemail, yes.
We do the
heard her
email, then we do the
voice.
voicemail.
I know, I'm confused.
We're all baffled and
But
shit.
anyway, in terms of the New Year's resolutions, definitely a good idea to stop partying during the week. Your professors appreciate that. Be more prepared for class. Anyway, and being a little more forceful about your veganism.
Always good.
And always good, because meek vegans suffer.
So
we
we
always
say.
say.
Meek vegans do suffer.
Not in terms of being like more like in your face, but just making your wishes known, making your reasons known when people are curious about it. It's
Absolutely.
a good thing. So in terms of the vet school, that's a little bit more complicated.
It is indeed a little more complicated. I understand your point. I mean, the point is like, okay, I'm going to be able to learn on a couple animals, and then I'll go on to be a vet, and I will know better, having learned on those other animals, how to treat other animals, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I get that.
I get that too.
I mean, I understand the logic behind that, but I think when you stop to consider where animals come from, they're going to be testing on, it complicates things tremendously. First off, we need to talk about Class B dealers, I think.
Okay.
Class B dealers essentially do some of the supplying of medical schools and other places like that with animals, right? And what a Class B dealer does is a Class B dealer purchases animals from random sources. And according to Tom Reagan in Empty Cages, this Class B dealer, these sources include people offering kittens or puppies free to a good home, and shelters that are willing or required by law to surrender them. So the dealer in turn sells the animals to biomedical research laboratories, pharmaceutical companies, or universities where they might be used for educational purposes. It takes no special training or expertise to be a Class B dealer. Even convicted felons qualify. All it takes is $50 for a license issued by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and where you're ready to go start your business. So a lot of the animals are sourced from Class B type places. What it comes down to, and what Tom Reagan says in his book, is that if you are unlucky enough to have your dog get out and your dog escapes and ends up in a shelter, your dog can end up in a lab. And your dog can end up in a lab because a lot of the dealers are going to buy or acquire dogs and cats, dogs in particular, that are used to being around people, that are docile, that are easy to handle, that are going to be easy to deal with. So that's one thing. The other thing is that I don't feel like killing. We get into this whole question of justification and utilitarianism, right? Is it okay to kill one animal to save hundreds of animals? And this is the exact same debate you can have over vivisection for human purposes, right? Is it okay to kill one animal to help cure a disease? And to me, I think it's really difficult ethical terrain. I don't feel like it is. I don't feel like it is okay to kill an animal because the ends aren't always clear. And I think in the case of dissection, I think in the case of use of animals, for example, in medical schools and in veterinary schools, and I could be wrong about this, but I think that there are other ways to do it. And I don't just think this out of the blue. I again appealed to Tom Reagan, who has a really good chapter in Empty Cages on this, where he deals with it, and he says that why are the animals dissected in the classroom? And the answer usually is it's the only or the best way to learn anatomy. Well, of course, this is untrue, he says. Anyone who has kept abreast of how students actually learn anatomy will tell you the same thing. Jonathan Balcombe, who has made a close study of the relevant literature, concludes that students who use alternatives, including high-tech computer demonstrations, score equally well or better than students who performed dissection. Balcombe cites more than 30 academic studies that all reach the same conclusion. Clearly, dissection is not a necessity judged in terms of what students learn. And he goes on to talk about some of the alternatives that are out there, including software models, including cadaver work, including there are a bunch of different things out there that that students can use to learn how to properly do dissection, how to learn anatomy, how to do surgery, things of that nature. So I have a hard time personally, given that there are alternatives, accepting that animals should be used for educational purposes, even if it's for veterinary work. The other thing is what happens, right? You essentially set up this hierarchy of animals where the animals that you're probably going to be working on in vet school, where do they come from, right? They're going to be classed from these various kinds of sources, Class B dealers and things like that. And it's like killing these animals so that, you can go on to be a vet and probably, when it comes down to it, work on the animals for people who can afford to pay you, right? that's a problematic issue as well. I mean, you've got this kind of division of animals where, one animal ends up at a shelter and therefore it's okay to dissect it, and another animal is someone's family pet, therefore it's not okay. I mean, it's a difficult terrain for me. Make any sense?
Yeah, but a lot of vets also help out at shelters. I mean, they take care of the pets there as much as they can. A lot of vets end up working, doing a lot of important things as well.
Well, I'm not saying that wouldn't be the case.
Okay.
All I'm saying is that personally speaking, I don't think I would have a difficult time justifying the use of animals in my education, period. And that's all it comes down to for me.
Right.
I'm not dissing vets, believe me.
No, you're just saying how it's just a really weird ethical question that comes up. Not weird, but it's a really difficult ethical question that comes up because, well, until we have these things, these alternatives that are more available, that this is going to happen. And so how are these people going to learn surgery? How are they going to learn anatomy?
Well, they're going to learn it, I think, by watching, by observation, by... Tom Reagan talks about observation, cadaver studies, software. There are a number of things that it can be used to learn these things.
Yeah.
And in fact, medical schools themselves have even moved away from the use of, many of the medical schools have moved away from the use of live animals for surgery.
Yeah, I found this article from the New Yorker back in May, and it talks about an alternative that they're using. They actually have mannequins that can talk. They're completely computerized. They can talk and they can show vital signs. And so what they'll do is they'll program in that this person has hepatitis or something, and they'll be going in and they'll be groaning and complaining of a pain somewhere, and then their vital signs will change, depending on what their disease is supposed to do. And they can actually cut into these things, and it supposedly feels like human flesh when you're cutting into them. So, I mean, this is completely computerized, not alive, not ever alive, it's not a cadaver that they can use, and it's actually really useful in helping train new doctors. They said it works really well. So, I mean, these kind of things are what we need to really be pushing, I think.
Absolutely. And I don't get me wrong. I just don't feel like it's I don't feel like it's ethically okay if you believe that animals aren't to be used for human purposes. I don't think it's ethically okay to kill a few to save a couple more. And that's all it comes down to, right? That's always the decision.
Right.
And that's the decision that comes up when we talk about animal testing in laboratories, a decision that comes up when we talk about any of these things. Is it okay to kill a couple animals to save X number of whatever? I don't feel like it is, because I don't think it's always entirely clear that by killing a couple animals you're saving more.
Right.
So I'm not dissing vets, believe me. That's not. Did I sound that way?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well.
Or you're just saying your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not dissing vets, but I think you get into some complicated ethical terrain, and I don't know. I don't know enough about vet school to tell you if you will have to do that kind of work or not.
I have no idea what goes on, and it's really hard to find out. I tried doing some searches and didn't find a whole lot. So.
But I bet you would.
Yeah.
But I would think you'd be able to do a lot of the work on. I mean, I would think some of that work could be done on cadavers, right?
I would think, yeah.
So.
Yeah. So there you go.
I don't know. So I kind of rambled there, but the point is that I basically feel like why if we don't really have to, and considering where the animals themselves come from, it's a very dicey proposition. That's how I feel, and I just think it's very. I don't know. I have a hard time with it.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
So, moving on?
Moving on.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay.
I'm going to stop rambling.
All right. So, we're going to go on to our next voicemail. And it didn't leave a name, so I'm not sure who it's from.
Anonymous.
Anonymous.
Hey, Bob and Jenna. I have a question for you that I haven't heard anybody discuss before, and I was wondering what your thoughts were on it. I am vegetarian, and I'm in the process of going vegan, and even being vegetarian, I get a lot of different responses being a man as opposed to some of the women that I've met that are vegetarian or vegan, and I was wondering what kind of responses you guys get. When I was married, it was always assumed that my wife had made me vegetarian, and it was actually more of the opposite. And so, Bob, I was wondering what kind of responses you get at work or from friends and family if they just assume that Jenna made you into a vegetarian or vegan, or just in general, what responses you or any of your listeners get that are different from being male, vegan, or vegetarian, or being female. And that's it. Thanks for your podcast. You guys do a great job. Bye.
Okay, so this is a little more lighthearted, this one.
Yeah. So what do you think? The question was mostly directed at you.
Well, I know. I gotta tell you, let's see. What kind of responses do I get? I don't know. It's complicated. I think there is a widespread idea out there that in order to be a manly man, you must eat meat, steak, I eat meat,
Exactly.
all that stuff in order to be a man. And I saw this I gotta tell you a little story. I do a class on animal rights and vegetarianism at the university. And one of the projects I have them do for extra credit is I ask them to become vegetarian for a week if they're omnivores. And if they're vegetarians, I ask them to go vegan for a week. And then they write about their experiences being vegetarians or vegans. And most of the students in the class do it. I have 18. Last semester, I think I had 18 students, and I think almost all of them did it.
Mm-hmm.
And in the class, I had probably three football players. Big guys, like big, strapping, hulking young men, right? Football players. And they did it. They went vegetarian for a week. And they said they got so much shit. They got shit from their coach. They got shit from their parents. They got shit from, in particular, their moms. They said their moms gave them a lot of crap. They got shit from their friends. They got shit from their girlfriends. And a lot of it related to and from their teammates. And a lot of it related to the fact that they were being pussies for going vegetarian. Even from their
Right.
moms, right? How you going to get your protein, all this other stuff, right? So I think there is this widespread conception out there that, if you don't eat meat, you're certainly, I don't know, not all that much of a man or whatever and all that other stuff. I tend to get, I've gotten that in the past sometimes. I don't get it so much anymore, I guess.
Yeah.
I think I got it more a number of years ago. I think now it's maybe changing a little gradually, but I still think there's a widespread conception out there that in order to be, that to be a vegan is to be like a wuss, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's this widespread idea that vegans are too weak to do anything and all this other stuff. I think that's crap, but I think it's out there.
Mm-hmm.
So my football players experience that. And I think some of those football players may have been vegan, or not vegan, but probably they may have gone vegetarian, except for all that teasing. Because I think a lot of them really felt passionately about the issues around animals.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like a lot of them were kind of pressured into eating the same old stuff because of the kind of societal expectations that I'm a football player, I eat meat. I need all that protein, all that other stuff.
Well, you see it creep up in a lot of places. And at the end of our book, we mentioned an article in Newsweek about foie gras, and the author, was basically blasting people who think that foie gras is cruel, and saying, "Oh, would Madame prefer a vegetable reduction on your asparagus?" And of course, the use of that term "Madame" insinuates that it's going to be the woman who's going to be opposed to foie gras because, of course, we're just silly emotional creatures who, can't handle the thought of animals being tortured or whatever. So I think a lot of people assume that it's an emotional kind of decision, and people automatically connect emotion and being hysterical with women, which is just crazy. So it's definitely out there. Although the two of us personally never have gotten the "I turned you veg."
No, I don't think we have.
Because it's actually, we actually went vegan around the same. I mean, we had thoughts around the same time, and actually, it was your idea to go vegetarian way back when.
It was really funny. You were so resistant.
I was.
You were really resistant. I was like,
it's gonna be too hard.
Well, I remember I said to you, I'm gonna be vegetarian, and you were like, what? I'm gonna be vegetarian. I had read Diet for New America. I'm gonna be vegetarian, and you were like, oh, but, and I said, well, look, this is what it's gonna be like. I'm cooking. I cook most of the time. I'm not cooking meat. That's all there is to it. So, and you came along.
Yeah. Well, and I read Diet for New America too.
True.
And
true.
that helped. So.
Yeah. But there is that widespread perception out there. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I don't have any kind of surefire response or any kind of funny way to approach it or say about it, but I do think it's out there. I do think there's this idea that, vegans are wusses and, girly men and all this other stuff. And it's ridiculous.
It is. It's crazy.
It's just more evidence our society is completely fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is.
Mm-hmm.
And it is also more evidence that, there's this, Carol Adams always talks about these linkages between masculinity and meat.
Yep.
And here's another linkage between masculinity and meat, and if you look at all these different terms for getting it on, they're all related to masculinity, and meat, and all this other stuff gets tied together. So I don't know. I do get occasionally though that you don't look like a vegan. And I was like, what does that mean? And usually it comes out, well, you don't have dreads, or you're not a hippie, or you're not skinny and weak, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm not. I am. I don't know. I'm not like fat or anything, but apparently they're expecting me to be 102 pounds
Right.
and jaundiced.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know, but there is certainly that expectation out there that vegans are wusses. But I think that's ridiculous.
I agree.
So I don't know. You want to have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so if anybody has any funny stories, they're more than welcome to send them to us.
We're-
Podcast@veganfreak.com.
That's right.
Podcast.veganfreak.com is our website.
And 267-295-1944.
There you go.
Yep.
That's our voicemail number.
Okay. So I don't know.
Shall we close up our voicemail segment with our outro?
Indeed.
267-295-1944. Write the number down on your refrigerator door. Add the 001 country code if you call us from Vienna. That's how you leave a voicemail for good old Bob and Jenna.
Okay, so right. Next up, we've got for you a tune.
A tune.
Yeah.
A tune.
Tunes. We've got some music.
So this one comes from Drew.
From
one
Drew.
of Drew's suggestions.
Yep.
And it's Contravene, Inhumane Cage.
Okay, so that was Inhumane Cage, and thanks to Drew for that. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, did we mention that Flame Still Burns sent us the first song?
I believe we did.
Okay.
Didn't we print out the lyrics for this song?
I don't know if you printed them out, but
For the old farts that can't understand it. Because we're not all 19-year-old goths, Jenna.
right.
Not the goths would listen to that anyway.
No.
But I'm going to... Oh, you know what? I don't have the lyrics in this email. Oh, well. I was going to read you lyrics, but fuck it. I don't have them here.
They're good.
This is what happens. I mean, we're not professional radio. We need an intern.
But, everybody is listening to our podcast, has a computer, obviously. They can look them up.
No, you can't.
No?
You can't find them.
You can't find them?
No, I'll have to put them in the show notes.
All right, we'll post them then.
Yeah. You can't go... I don't think you can find them on Google.
Why not?
I don't think anyone put them up.
Oh, okay.
So I'll put them up in the show notes.
Okay.
If I remember. And by the way, we need an intern. Anyone want to be our intern?
Yeah, no kidding.
We can't pay you. We will give you our undying love.
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe I'll make you cookies.
Jen will make you cookies.
Oh, hey, by the way.
Yeah.
I should mention that I got an apology from Uncle Bill.
Jenna got an apology. An emailed apology. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. So
See,
I'm told that Uncle Bill just doesn't do that for anybody.
I got to tell you, I have known the man a very long time, and I've never known him to apologize.
Yeah.
Ever.
So he apparently did like my cookies and wanted to apologize for making me think that he didn't like them.
He probably found out you were bad-mouthing him all over
Probably.
the internet. So yeah, you did get an apology from
Yeah, it was
from
very
you.
big of him. I appreciate that.
That was very big of him. I had to write him back. You're reminding me.
Hmm.
So that was pretty nice of him.
Yeah.
You have to admit.
Right.
Okay.
And speaking of cookies.
Speak.
Liz Lovely.
All right. We got our Liz Lovely interview. What a good segue.
Wasn't that? I didn't even plan that.
Thank God you have your shit together. I am like the most disorganized person ever.
Yeah. So I got some Liz Lovely cookies for my birthday, and they're all gone now.
They were good.
So for my sister sent them to me, so that was really cool.
I was eating them. I was like, the smoking vegan could have made these. Made me think like, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So we did this interview. Actually, we did this interview a while back with Liz Lovely, and we're finally getting it on now.
Yep.
And so they talk about the cookies and how they got into their business of making cookies. And if you haven't tried their cookies yet, you must, because they're
pretty good.
They're very good. And their new cookie is officially out now. It's the oatmeal raisin one that they're going to talk about.
Well, and by the way, we don't get paid to do these things. We just do them because we think it's interesting to talk to people who are active in vegan businesses and vegan life and vegan culture, stuff like that.
Yes,
so
indeed.
We're not doing this like, we're not getting paid or anything like that. We're not, although they did donate some cookies for our farm awards.
They did.
But we aren't, we aren't getting like $1,000 from her or anything. No. Although, we would take $1,000.
Do you think anybody would ever pay us that much to do this?
Yeah, right. If they did, we could buy a better mixer and we could actually put things on while we were talking, like sound effects and stuff.
Uh-huh.
We wouldn't even need $1,000. But anyway, if we have any rich people out there who are listening to the podcast and you want to send us money, I can guarantee you, I can put a wish list up. You could buy stuff. You don't have to send us the money.
There you go. Just buy stuff.
Yeah, and I'm just totally shooting into the dark now. Anyway, so this is our interview with Liz and Dan from Liz Lovely Cookies. Hang in there. We'll be right back after the interview. Well, we're here with Dan and Liz Holtz of Liz Lovely Incorporated. And some of you out there surely know that Liz Lovely makes amazingly good, incredible cookies that, man, they're just kick-ass. So, yeah, let's just say hi to Dan and Liz. How you guys doing?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. Jenna's here, too.
Hello.
Hey, Jenna.
Hey, Jenna.
So, it was cool. We've loved your cookies for a long time, and we thought it'd be cool to talk to you guys because we like to just talk to folks who maybe run some vegan businesses and have some experience out there doing this stuff, and we think it's cool that there are businesses out there that cater to vegans, and we're just wondering, how did you guys get into the whole thing?
Well, I would say we were in corporate jobs supporting a bad industry, which was pharmaceutical, mostly in Philadelphia. And
we weren't like working for the pharmaceutical companies per se.
It was more like marketing companies that worked for pharmaceutical companies. It was bad. And Dan and I were both sort of rotting from the inside, and we got laid off sort of, and we were unemployed for about 6 months, and I was making crazy amounts of vegan chocolates. Like the whole kitchen was just stuffed with them, and I was going to give them out as gifts for Christmas, and Dan was like, this is ridiculous, like there's nowhere to eat, there's no space. And I had this party to have all these people try these vegan chocolates, and I had this leftover chocolate, and I made some cookies and I put it on the cookies, and no one talked about the chocolates at all. All anybody could say was, oh my God, these are the best cookies I've ever had. And I was like, but what about my chocolates?
In fact, I think we had a lot of chocolates left that night.
Yeah.
Like plates of chocolates.
No one would even take them home.
Not that they weren't good.
Sure.
I mean, they were good, but they weren't as good as the cookies.
Yeah. So after that, I decided, hey, I just want to do this with my life. I can't really go back to a cubicle. I can't really pretend that I'm making a difference. And so I'm like, oh, I'm unemployed. I should start this. So I started, and Dan's like, well, I'll help you out for a while. I'll just do like your packaging and I'll help you with the marketing, but I'm not going to do this with my life. I don't want to do this. And so I started making all this product, and I pitched it to some stores, and again, no one's interested in the chocolates. And finally one day, Dan sort of said, look, you're going to need my help. I guess I'll do this. And then we said, I think that we're a cookie company. I don't think anyone's going to ever buy these chocolates.
It was sort of an epiphany. We were both sitting in what was sort of like our home office, and we looked at each other and we're like, you know what? I guess we're a cookie company.
Wow.
And that was about 3 years ago.
Getting on 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years in January, and we've just been pushing ahead ever since.
Cool. Well, I mean, I guess in a sense, I mean, it's kind of selfish, but I'm glad that the pharmaceutical stuff didn't work out for you, because now I get good cookies out of it.
Yeah, I'm glad too. I couldn't imagine picking a different path at this point.
I mean, I think you're overplaying the pharmaceutical end of it. I mean, you were working for a pharmaceutical marketing company. I was an ex-web designer working for a voice recognition company who happened to be working for AstraZeneca at the time. But yeah, I mean, but either way, I mean, we were both like really not supporting, positive industries with our talents in any way.
And so what made you decide to move to Vermont?
Well, before we started the business, we came up here for Dan's birthday just to get away. And we said, oh my God, we have to move here. It's unbelievable here. But we knew we couldn't really just take from here. We felt like we had to give something back. And we saw so many small businesses. And we said, if there's anything, we just need to bring a business here. And it was kind of a weird decision, because we probably could have just started here, but we had so many roots there. So our whole plan was, we are going to just start this and move it there eventually. So it was planned.
It was more of a pipe dream than a plan.
Yeah, we didn't really think we'd get there, but we always said it. And we told all the employees they could move with us, and it was sort of like a thing from the beginning.
Oh, and there are benefits to being in Philadelphia. I mean, there are many more stores within driving distance. It's not. I would imagine it would have been much more difficult to get started from scratch in Vermont, because when we landed in Vermont, we already had over 150 retail stores who would carry the product.
Wow.
Right, and we did start by, Dan and I were the only people, and we, one day out of the 7 days that we worked a week, we would put everything in our truck and deliver it around. So it did work out, where you couldn't do that in Vermont. There just aren't enough retailers.
And everything's so spread out.
Yeah, so spread out. I mean, it would take days to deliver.
One, the population density, of Philadelphia, I mean, it's the 5th largest city in the country. There are 7 Whole Foods markets all within driving distance of where our bakery was. That was a huge benefit. But the atmosphere was terrible. I mean, living in Philadelphia was not a thrill. And, owning a business, on the mainline area of Philadelphia had its own kind of nastiness and challenges. And
I grew up in Philly, so...
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah, and I hate it.
No plans to go back, I take it.
No, I really don't want to go back. I have no desire to go back there. I mean, I don't mind it for a little while, but I get a little insane there. And where I live now is kind of relaxed and rural, and it's got its downsides as a vegan, but, on the whole, I'll take the woods over Philly any day if it means I can't get, bougie vegan food as easily.
Right.
Yeah, we pretty much feel the same way.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
People love their venison here, and you just have to live with it.
Yeah. You kind of got to put up with it.
Yeah.
So, can we talk a little bit more about kind of the vegan end of your business? I mean, you started out as a vegan business, is that right?
Yes. Yep. It was always vegan right from the beginning. I think my focus was to convert people who weren't vegan to eating the product and not knowing it was vegan, sort of tricking people. and there's a bad reputation for how bad cookies are. Well,
vegan cookies.
Vegan cookies.
Yeah.
Hockey puck is usually what most people say.
and honestly, even though they're pretty, they're in this little pretty package and what I think they're aesthetically pleasing, people still will not buy them because it says vegan. And I'm thinking, but they don't look vegan even. So, I mean, we just started out with that in mind. Maybe we can convince these people that it's not so bad.
But the intention was always to make unbelievably good cookies that happen to be vegan and not the other way around. Not that they wouldn't be vegan, or we'd ever make a non-vegan product, but it had to start with a good product and not with, hey, let's just make vegan cookies and however they taste will be good enough for people.
Right. I wasn't okay with what was out already.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, we've had some vegan cookies, and we found tremendous range in quality, I think. And I think it's really important what you guys are doing, because I think, I think we underestimate how important it is to have things like cookies that people can eat and stuff like that, because people think they're going to be giving up a lot when they go vegan. But if they have one of your cookies, you're not giving anything up. That's like they're great cookies.
Well, we get website feedback through our website, weekly. I mean, at least a few a week, sometimes a few a day. And my favorite ones that we often get are the people who say, I'm not vegan yet, or I'm trying to become vegan, or, but your cookies are going to make it easier for me. Because those are really like the most important people for us to reach as a company, or the people that we can actually do some social change along with selling some cookies.
Excellent. And I know from looking around your website a little bit that's influenced sort of like the ingredients that you use in your cookies. Could you maybe tell us a little bit more about what goes into making the cookies?
In terms of the specific ingredients we use?
Yeah, because I know you wanted to use Earth Balance because, just the rich flavor it gives and that kind
Right. I started out with the Shed's Willow Run spread, which was hydrogenated, and I just kind of want to avoid all, trans fat and bad hydrogenated fats. And Earth Balance, to me, is unbelievable. I mean, I don't think people can even believe that it's not butter. I just try to pick the highest quality things I can use that don't have a ton of ingredients within them. Like I want sort of clean ingredients. That's what we're going for. And we try to use the most ingredients, organic ingredients we can get. But some things like Earth Balance, we're having trouble with that. Like we want it to be organic, but right now they only offer it whipped, and that's not going to make the best cookie for us. So there are things we're sort of waiting on the industry to sort of help us become, even better.
And I mean, the ingredients, is really to me part of the whole artisan philosophy, because, you pick up, I'm gonna name names because it's fun. You pick up an alternative baking company cookie, and there are like carbohydrate gum and guar gum, and I could be getting the exact names wrong, but there are things in there that personally I would never keep in my own kitchen.
Sure,
The philosophy here was, nothing that goes into this should be something that you can't pick up at your local natural market and do at home. It's just that we do it better than you.
See, I would never say that. I don't think you can compete with homemade, but I mean, maybe, I don't know. Dan, you kind of have an ego about that. But,
well, I don't know. My cookies certainly aren't dipped in chocolate the way yours are. So,
well, and most people don't spend 4 months developing, one cookie recipe.
Right.
I mean, that's, you have a dedication to it. And so the ingredients really are the foundation in a lot of ways.
Yeah, if you have bad ingredients, you're guaranteed a bad product. So I totally stand behind the ingredients that we buy. I mean, every single one I picked because it was the right ingredient to get the right texture and the right consistency. So
even down to the brand, like when we can't get the sugar that we want and we have to use a different brand of sugar, we'll buy as little as we possibly can so we can go right back to the sugar we like.
I mean, it's not right if it's not perfect. So
Nice. Can I change gears a little?
Sure.
I'm thinking maybe we could get you guys to talk about how it is that you went vegan, or any advice you might have for people out there who are kind of on the fence on the way to veganism.
Well, I think that Dan and I came about it differently. I mean, I've been vegetarian since I was 12, and so I've been vegan, I think, 10 years now, and Dan struggled more than me, because I already sort of had a hatred towards the whole meat industry. My grandfather was a butcher, but growing up, he wouldn't eat meat. and my family would serve meat on these Sunday, dinners and everything, and he refused to eat, which I thought was so weird. And he was so against the meat industry because he sort of raised his own, cattle and all this stuff. So I sort of looked into it early, and then my brother, who's a crazy vegan, he's like one of the ones who, walks around preaching to everyone. I sort of had no choice but to read all the literature he gave me, and after I read it, I couldn't really go back. But Dan, you had more struggles than me. You should.
Well, I had cancer when I was 17. I had testicular cancer, and before that, I was essentially a walking garbage pail. I would eat a lot of fast food. I was raised on, red meat. My dad is a devout carnivore, and honestly, I could turn around and eat a big hunk of meat right now if it wasn't against my beliefs at this point, because I've no personal distaste for it. In fact, in some ways, it makes it more of a struggle for me because I still really enjoy it in theory. But after I got sick and I got through the whole thing, Liz was just really trying to encourage me to learn how to eat healthier so that I don't have to go through this twice in my life. And when we moved to Ithaca, New York, shortly thereafter, which is, at the time, this was more than 10 years ago, it still is, but really then was like a pretty serious vegetarian mecca when the whole thing was just getting started. You could really get vegetarian and vegan food anywhere in that town.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started shopping at the co-op, and, we were pretty broke, so we couldn't afford a lot of really expensive stuff, so we did a lot of grains and a lot of vegetables. And but I'll tell you, over the last 10 years, even up until, the first 6 months we were here in Vermont, I teetered. I was doing dairy when we first moved here, partially because the dairy in Vermont is like so good. I was sort of tempted and I went wayward. And but honestly, and this is not a really this is not a kiss up here. Reading your book actually really kind of sealed the deal for me, because I had never really put the full. Because, philosophically, I'd never explored it enough, probably. I'd never really thought of it as speciesism. And once I got that part of it, I was sold. There's just no way I could go back. I've even started to really change over all my clothes, and, so I'm a hardcore ethical vegan, as well as, health and lifestyle. But like I said, I could turn around and eat meat tomorrow if it wasn't, something that I couldn't believe in.
So if there was a lab-grown meat, for example, you would be all over that, huh? Have you heard
Probably
about
not.
this?
Actually, that kind of creeps me out.
Yeah, that creeps me out. I am not into that. I can't imagine Dan eating that either.
It weirds me out too. I don't know. I hear a lot of vegans say they would eat it, but I definitely
Really?
wouldn't touch it. Oh yeah.
That's amazing to me.
Lab grown, that scares the crap out of me. But that goes right along with the whole non-GMO thing. If you go to our website, you'll see we're pretty anti-GMO and genetic modification in general. It's just creepy. I'm a fan of science fiction, but I think if we get it into the real world, it's a little creepy.
But not to eat it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not to eat it.
That's cool. I don't know what else.
I guess I'm wondering, I think a lot of us out here, me personally, if I could devote my life to having kind of a vegan business, I probably would do it. And I think there are a lot of folks out there, but I think a lot of us don't really know kind of where to find a little in at. You know what I mean?
A niche.
Yeah,
Right.
kind of a niche. What kind of advice would you have for people that think, well, I'm really into veganism and I really want to help vegans out. I would like to make it my life. I'd like to make it my business. Do you have any kinds of advice for those folks?
Honestly, I think that there just aren't enough vegan products available. And it's hard because you can't really make, a great living doing this without putting some serious time in.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be in it for the mission. But I think it's important that if there are vegans out there who feel dissatisfied with their life, that they should try to provide something that isn't available. Because I don't think the full spectrum of the vegan lifestyle is quite there. I don't know about you guys, but I just don't feel like it's so easy to buy, let's say, a pair of winter socks. Like those little things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Every single thing that I try to buy for myself, it's like a big effort to put into it. I don't know. I feel like I'm a busy person. I work 60, 70, 80 hours, and I don't have all the time, but I still try to put that effort in. And I think if there are so many people involved in the whole movement of let's just make a vegan world possible, then I think everyone would find it easier. I don't know. What do you think, Dan? I mean, it's kind of an idealistic version of the truth. But
I think it's easier than that. I think you start from the place that all businesses have to start if they're ever going to be successful, which is your passion. Liz's passion truly was baking. Before she was vegan, she was, filling me full of cookies. It's just the way it's always been. You got to start with what you can do, what you're good at, what you love. I'm not good at making cookies. I've made my fair share of them, but I'm not very good at it. I'm here as second in charge, as helper. I'm here because I can help. But it's Liz created this. If you're going to create a vegan business, it really should start with a good business, a good idea, something you can do, and then make it vegan. Gear it towards vegans, or if it's a food product, it's where it's going to be the most important. But whatever kind of business you start, just make it as socially responsible as you can. Use good stuff. Use organic stuff. Use pay living wages. Whatever you can do. Because I think that the vegan philosophy should really kind of be expanded out into a broader worldview, and I think all those things fall into that bucket.
I completely agree. It kind of opens you up to looking at, once you start questioning things, as a vegan, you start to question all kinds of other social relationships, and I think it starts to kind of expand outward into a broader consciousness about the world, and I think that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the things that we all sort of argue about here at Liz Lovely, because, we're all vegans, and we all sort of argue together about what our own personal philosophy is, and I sort of try to push myself every year. How many more things can I take into my consciousness as what's a better way to go about it? Like, just because technically something is vegan doesn't mean I'll necessarily eat it. Like, I try to eat the less processed food I can, so I'm not supporting those companies who also make non-vegan food, and you sort of trim those things out, and it can make you crazy. But if you start in little bits, and every year you keep trying to do one more thing, it sort of streamlines the whole thing for you.
Yeah.
Well, and like we have a baker here who I'm sure you know very well, who will remain nameless for this podcast, who regularly brings in the nastiest, most processed crap from the grocery store to lunch.
I know.
And I'm saying, dude, just because you think that's vegan or technically it's vegan, you're squeaking by on a loophole there, man, because you're not supporting the cause with that bag of crap.
It's true. He is a junk food vegan. That's for sure.
Yeah, they're junk food vegans, and I think I think that we give him enough crap that he'll keep.
Well, he started to bring more and more real food, so
Yeah.
maybe he's getting the hint.
I think our listeners know who the vulgar vegan is. So. Yeah, we've had this fight with him for years. When I knew him when he was a student, I used to go after him all the time. He would be sitting there eating Casey Masterpiece chips and some hummus that the first ingredient wasn't chickpeas, and I was like, "What the fuck are you eating, man?"
We can swear on this thing?
We have no FCC. You can say fuck, shit, whatever you want.
Oh man, I wonder if we can start over here.
You could just throw in a couple random fucks if it makes you feel better.
No, I'll work them in. It's all right.
Okay. Well, actually, I've got a topic you could probably work them in, because I know, sort of getting back to the ingredients and the issue maybe of fair trade, I know you've had a lot of frustrations with your chocolate.
Oh, the chocolate. I don't think we'll let Dan take up an hour talking about the chocolate, but I can't even express how frustrated I am about the chocolate, because, okay, vegan.org, they're a certifier of vegan, and they started accepting companies who essentially have shared equipment, and we started out by not using shared equipment. We don't agree with shared equipment. Again, it goes back to the companies are also producing dairy products. They're not really vegan. But now I cannot find a vegan chocolate.
Well, they've lowered the bar.
Right, that supposedly is vegan, and yet to me that's not vegan, because there could be traces, and they keep saying, oh, well, we wash down the line. And I'm telling you from a person who has a chocolate line. I have a chocolate line. It has chocolate in it. You cannot spray the thing down with water.
Well, there's two things here. When you make the chocolate versus when you mold the chocolate, it's really like two different oh, sorry, that's my computer. That's two different sets of equipment. Maybe what that they're making on, they can actually wash that down. But a molding line, you'd have to shut that sucker down for at least a day or two, or just to dry it out, because one or two drops of water will blow pounds and pounds of chocolate.
Oh, man.
So
yeah, and it's like an education thing. Everyone thinks, oh, well, it's clean. And what I'm saying is some of the companies I've researched, their idea of cleaning a chocolate line is, okay, you have the dark, So then you start adding milk until it becomes milk, and then when you have to go dark again, you just start adding some dark in until they think it's dark enough. So I'm saying that's not vegan to me. I don't know, it's frustrating. We're still searching. The chocolate we're using, we still stand behind, but it's a struggle. Shared equipment is going to be a struggle until like a smaller person starts making actually vegan chocolate.
One, there are 3 levels of problems with chocolate right now. One is the shared equipment, which is we've lost that battle. No one is gonna run a kosher parve, meaning a completely dairy-free, animal-free line now. 2 is the fair trade thing. You know, the fair trade certification, I just don't know enough about it. What I do know is that it's expensive as hell, and that a lot of third world growers can't really afford it, and which ties into the organic certification. It's the same problem. It's expensive as hell. There's a lot of paperwork. It's a great thing. You know, most chocolate is grown organically because it's real hard to heft a whole lot of pesticides down into the rainforests. They don't have the money. They don't have the manpower. So, you know, I think 80 or 90% of cocoa beans are organic. They're just not labeled that way because they can't get certification. That's not true with fair trade. I mean, you know, most chocolate that's purchased by large companies is not fair trade. You know, right now the chocolate we're using is certified neither. They're self-asserting a fair trade status, and they're not even addressing the organic status. And so we are looking into an alternative that's got better certifications.
But at the expense of quality, I'm just not ready to go there. And we keep testing the cookies with new chocolate, but nothing stands up to the quality we have. So it's a quality issue.
Well, there's a reason for that.
Right.
I mean, if you go through all the hassle to certify your product, you know, fair trade and organic, you have a built-in market. Someone's going to buy it. It doesn't matter how good it is. You know, you can not ferment it long enough. You can conch it improperly. You can, you know, cut a lot of corners because you know someone's going to buy it. And that's really the core problem right now with certified organic chocolate is, you know, some of it's just really crappy.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So what we really need are more vegan businesses that are out there doing some of this stuff and hooking it all up, you know?
And I think vegans demanding, hey, shared equipment is not good enough for us.
Yeah.
You know, there is a market here. You know, I think people just, you know, it says it's suitable for vegans, so people are like, oh, it must be vegan. And that, to me, isn't good enough.
That's in the U.S. only, though, right? I mean, isn't the UK certification, they don't allow for shared equipment unless I'm mistaken. I could be wrong.
The vegan, wait, isn't it vegan what is it? The other one, Dan.
I'm thinking.
I don't know.
The one with the little flower.
The vegan, the original vegan organization. What are they called? Well, anyway, I know what you're talking about. We could probably look it up after the fact. I think it's anyway. I think that they do allow shared equipment, but only in very well documented circumstances.
Right, like they want parts per million of dairy.
Well, the Europeans are just way ahead of us on all these food issues.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The shared equipment, the organic, everything.
It's hard to get enough chocolate over here if people aren't already buying it. So say you can find like Plamel. I know they make vegan chocolate, but no one really distributes it in the U.S. So I'd have to buy a container of it.
22,000 pounds.
I'm not ready.
Whoa.
So, you know, once we're bigger, and if everyone keeps supporting us and we're bigger and we have more buying power, I think we can make even better decisions. But we're trying to do the best we can.
Absolutely, and that's what veganism's about. I mean, you do the best you can with what you have on hand, right?
Yep.
Right.
So I guess as we close it out, where you guys go? You know, what's kind of coming up in the Liz Lovely future here?
Well, we have a new cookie coming out January. It's the Frontier cookie. It's an oatmeal raisin cashew cookie.
Ooh.
And we have another cookie coming out next year in the fall, which is between a mocha cookie and possibly a triple chocolate cookie. We haven't decided.
The code name is the migraine cookie.
Yeah.
And have a lot of chocolate.
The last time I tested it, I got a migraine, so I'm not sure.
Right.
Maybe it's too much chocolate.
Gonna be sending vegans into convulsions everywhere.
Yeah.
Chocolate-gasms.
We've considered, doing a brownie line, but that's sort of, once we get too many cookies out there.
Yep. And we've, well, I'm sure you guys know we were chosen as the product of the year
Yeah, I
by
wanted to
Veg
say-
News Magazine.
Yeah, congratulations on that.
Thanks.
And that was pretty rockin'. And so based on that, we've been getting an enormous number of incoming requests, which usually it's just us, asking people to carry the product. But now people are sort of calling every day, every other day, asking if they can carry the product. And we've expanded our distribution from just the East Coast, from like Maine to Florida, out into, almost into the Dakotas a little bit. And we've got most of the central region, and it's kind of just the metro areas, but we're starting to expand. We might have 40 or 50 stores out there now.
Cool.
So I think it's going to take us maybe another year to get out to the West Coast, but we want to be nationally available.
But of course we are right now through
With Cosmos.
CosmosVeganShop.com.
I know. I saw the gift pack that they sell with like an assortment of cookies. I'm drooling over it. So.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job. And honestly, in November, they were a 16th of our total business, if you can believe that. I mean, they sold a lot of cookies.
That's great.
Nice.
So they've been very, very cool.
And they've been cool to us too. So
Yeah.
they've helped us sell a lot of books as well. So way to go for Cosmos.
That's great.
So yeah, you guys want to mention your website real quick before we pull it to a close?
Sure, it's lizlovely.com.
And we just popped a new blog up there. There's not much on it yet, but it's available from the website, but you can also get it at strictlyvegan.lizlovely.com.
Nice.
Lovely. Lovely. Sorry. Yeah. All right. Anything else, John?
No, I think that's all. Thank you so much for talking with us.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Liz.
guys.
Thanks.
All right. So that was Liz and Dan from Liz Lovely Cookies. And what an interesting couple, huh?
Definitely. It's funny because we actually have a lot in common with them as to where places we've lived in.
Pennsylvania, Ithaca, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. And it's interesting to hear how people get involved in their vegan businesses and how they go about it and what they do and all that.
Definitely.
And we think, we have our critiques of capitalism out there, right? But at the same time, I think it's important to really support people who are trying to make a go of it, who are doing business in a way that supports vegan ethics and vegan lifestyle.
Definitely. Who are using capitalism for what good that you can use it for.
The minor pieces of good
Exactly.
you can use it for. So we think it's really important to support vegan businesses like, there are plenty out there. And when you have an option, buy from the vegans, man. Try to put money in the vegan community pocket.
Yeah. Definitely.
I think it's really important to do that. And I try to do that personally because I think, I'd rather see it go there.
Most certainly.
Rather than to like Whole Foods help support their fucking lobster tanks.
Yeah.
Bastards.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's it for this week's show. I don't know. We love to hear from you.
Mm-hmm.
We need to hear from you.
Mhm.
We don't. It's not that we love to. We need to. If we have a week go by or a couple days go by and we don't hear from people, we start to be like, they don't love us. What? No. We'd love to hear from you.
And as we've said in the show several times already, we have a lot of ways you can get in touch with us.
That's right.
Podcast@veganfreak.com is our email address.
That goes to both of us if you send it that way. I don't have to bother forwarding it to the old lady here.
Yes. And speaking of old, happy birthday to Josh Herbivore.
That's right. Happy birthday to Josh at Herbivore. Hope you're staying warm in that lime green thong.
Yeah. Podcast.veganfreak.com is our website.
But the funny thing about Josh, though, Josh and I had this weird thing in common.
Mhm.
That we both didn't know how old we were.
That's right. You kept telling people you were a year older than you actually were.
And he did too.
Yeah.
And then his wife corrected him.
Yeah.
This is my wife corrected me. See, I don't know what it is, man. It's like, I don't know. But Josh, yeah, happy birthday. Right. So podcastveganfreak.com. Meat Rod. I had to do that.
Okay. Does that reset your brain there?
Yeah.
Okay.
You ever watch Aqua Teen Hunger Force?
Yeah.
Good.
So I always thought Meatwad would be a good name for like a cat or a little dog.
A
Actually,
little
a little
fat dog. Yeah.
But it's so not vegan.
Meatwad.
Meatwad. Is
Yeah, it really isn't.
Anyway,
Not vegan.
267-295-1944.
That's right down your refrigerator door.
Yep.
And I don't know. We just love to hear from you, and we appreciate all of the kind words that we get from all of you. The wonderful comments at Podcast Alley, the comments at iTunes Music Store, and more comments help.
Yes, they do.
And more votes help.
Mm-hmm.
So don't forget to vote for us, and be in touch, and be good vegans. Make sure you
take your B12.
Take your B12. You see, there's some sound advice.
Yes.
Take your B12. And I don't know, come visit us on the forum and the chat room. veganfreak.com/chat. Come by and chat with us.
Yeah.
All right.
And I guess we'll see you all next week.
Yeah, man. Later.
That's when you think I'm a vegan freak. freak. Your opinion, I'm a vegan freak. Happy as better, I'm a vegan freak. Was just stumbled on from dreams.